Welcome to another one-man edition of the Bobcast as we just have track and field continuing here into late May. I'm here with men's and women's track and field head coach Dale Louie and track and field at the ECAC Outdoor Championships this past week. The women taking home two titles in the 4x100 and 4x400 relays. The men, John Kearns leading the way third in the discus. Kayla Truesdell, a couple of top three finishes in the 100 and 200 meters. So, Coach, to start it off, what did you make of the performances across the board at Johns Hopkins last week?
A little bit of everything, as most of our track meets are. As you mentioned, some of the highlights there. We had people medaling and things. Certainly happy to bring home some ECAC champions with the two women relays there. And I think overall, probably a little disappointment collectively as a team. I think we expected some better performances, maybe some better places in a couple of instances there. But there were a lot of good things too. Brad Forrester, put together probably the best decathlon that he's had since he's been here at Frostburg, and looks like it's starting to come together for him, and it'll be an interesting year for him next year. If he continues this kind of progress, he's going to become quite competitive, in the decathlon. Tori Yoder scoring kind of not really indicative of some of what she did there. Was running a great hurdle race, and unfortunately clipped the last hurdle or hit the second to last hurdle and fell over the last one. And other than that, she was on her way to a really great race there. So
Sure.
And that started it all off, and it's a shame that she lost some big points there, because I think she probably would have placed had that not happened there. We clearly were trying to get some people qualified for nationals.
Yes, the relays.
The relays, and we weren't able to get that done, which was a disappointment to a number of people. And it just goes again to you got to be on your A game. You got to get those handoffs where they need to be, and we just honestly didn't get the job done.
And really, this whole outdoor season we've been talking about battling with the elements and being behind essentially all season and searching for nice days to put up fast times and good results in a team sense. How do you grapple with that when you kind of evaluate this season, dealing with all of those elements and coming so close once again? Indoor and outdoor, the women's relay teams have been excellent. 4 ECAC medals, a couple conference championships in outdoor as well. So what overall, when you make it in a team sense, what do you make of this outdoor season now that you can look back and say, wow, here was spring break, a chance to not have class and practice whenever it's nice, and here's a foot of snow for you?
Well, to be honest with you, to go to UCAC and the first day having it raining on us was, I guess, they say deja vu.
Yeah.
So that certainly didn't help our cause. The second day was a little bit better, weather-wise, actually not too bad there. But for the throwers, just a real water mud hole and, stuff like that. So, it didn't help them at all in trying to, again, get season best and trying to qualify for nationals and whatnot. But, you can't control that. And there's nothing to say that you can't qualify for nationals by, doing it in bad weather. It just becomes a little more difficult, obviously. So, a disappointing year in some ways, but I'm sure there's a lot of schools out there that can say the same thing. The last 2 weeks, our practices were a little bit disjointed because of construction and whatnot. And this is a sport where, rhythm of training is extremely important. I think, we in swimming are probably unique in that regard. And when you start messing with that rhythm, you're rolling the dice in terms of what the outcome is going to be. We're very thankful for the seniors we've had The few that we've had, have stuck with us for 4 years. They really have achieved at a very high level. Probably been one of the better senior groups we've had, particularly on the women's side. And we thank them for everything they've done for us, and they had a good senior year. There were some bumps along the way and some bumps at the end that I hope they don't focus too much on, but rather focus on the whole body of their work.
And despite all of that, still very close to nationals for a couple of the relay squads. Kayla Truesdell will be going as well. To get back to ECACs and have the qualifiers you did and have the placings, some of the placings, and especially in the indoor season as well. For ECACs, is that kind of a payoff or validation of the whole process, and for your program to be so consistent in terms of getting there and showing up? And this year on the women's side, what is it, 6 championships won, indoor and outdoor? And is that the kind of thing that you want your program to be looking to every year, where this time of year it's graduation, but it's also nationals week, and to have that consistency, is that what was in your vision when it came to building this program, and how have these seniors and this track team helped carry that out?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Coach Bob Lewis has set a very high standard for any track and field coach that has followed him here at Frostburg. It's something that we're not necessarily afraid of. It's great to have that historical background and to point to that. And you know we have the situation, I think, here at Frostburg where I'll be quite blunt. I think that our track and field athletes really don't get some of the credit that they do, because consistently through the decades, track and field has performed at a high level. And it's I sometimes feel that for some of our athletes who make it to ECACs, which is a qualifying meet, and to nationals and stuff, they sometimes don't get the credit they do. It's almost the attitude here sometimes is like, oh well, okay, you guys are, you're going again, and my 11 years here, Kayla here will be the our 18th NCAA appearance. So that's consistency, I think, and that's a credit to the athletes and the assistant coaches who've worked so hard to try to get those people to that ultimate goal of the NCAA championships. I just look at Kayla. I mean, she will be in her 5th national championships. I mean, how many athletes across this country can actually say that? And she's gotten some recognition for it, obviously. But at the same time, going back to my comment, a lot of people are like, well, she's going again. Well, it's not that easy. If it was that easy, she'd be going in every single event, all the same events every single year. If you look at, her record, I mean, she's been, this is the other thing that's amazing. She's been to indoor nationals in the 60 meters and the 200. She's been to outdoors nationals in the 100 and the 200. So there's a variety of events there on top of just getting there, which is a credit to her.
And narrowly could have been a 4x4 indoor or a 4x1 outdoor athlete.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And of course she's a key figure there, and the other 3 women ran like crazy to try to get there, and if this was some other sports, I mean, let's face it, these women are in the top 20 in the country. If it was some other team, we'd be making a real big deal out of it, and although they are just a portion of the track team, so that's understandable. At the same time, I think they deserve some credit.
What's really impressive, and you made this point, is how routine it seems for Kayla Truesdell, now a 4-time Conference Athlete of the Year, indoor, outdoor, sweeping the last 2 years. And you spoke a little bit to her versatility: 60, 100, 200, 100, 200 outdoor, 60, 200 indoor. For her fifth trip to nationals, can you speak to the role that experience in going to nationals may have this week? And what does the week of look like, or even the moment that she knows that she's in look like, leading all the way up to going to Wisconsin and running the race itself?
Yeah. Well, other than the relays, the one thing that was probably a little different for her for this outdoor season here at the end was it looked pretty good that she was going to secure a spot. Because she was in a good spot going into the last weekend, and although she did drop down some, uh, there was that buffer there that we kind of hoped
Mm-hmm.
would be helpful. So you're still on pins and needles because you don't. I mean, like take for example, there's a meet out at Redlands out in California, and it must have been windy as all heck. And all of a sudden, I think 3 or 4 women are in the 100, all with wind readings of 3.5, 3.3. And you look at Kayla's wind reading of zero point 0.5. It's not a whole lot of push there
Mm-hmm.
from Mother Nature. So you never know how that works out because you have that competition from all around. And there's no subjective voting. Calling up somebody and saying, hey, how about if you let Kayla in and stuff like that. It's pure performance. And so that's good in some ways, but it can be pretty cruel in others. Uh, so a little less maybe pins and needles there.
Sure.
But now it's a matter of just trying to figure out, and that's one of the things here we're doing today. Just what do we need to work on? How is she feeling? How much rest? How much quality effort? What are we trying to tweak technique-wise, which isn't going to, create major headaches and get in the way of the confidence side of it all. Uh, Again, going back to your question, you hope that the experience of NCAs is, going to be a plus for her. I think it will be. I've noticed some changes in some of her approach, and in each of the national championships, she's shown some improvement. She's getting a little bit smarter. Uh, she's become a little bit better in terms of critiquing her performance. I mean, for example, indoors, I mean, before I could get anything out of my mouth, she was critiquing, her performance in the 200. And she was right on the money with where she made the one little mistake, that got in the way of achieving what she wanted to achieve. So hopefully we can eliminate some of those, mistakes. And it's a long week. We leave tomorrow morning because we have to be there by Wednesday for different things. She won't run until Friday, so there is
Wow.
a good bit of downtime, which it can be a good thing, and it could be also a time to be overthinking things. So. And that's one of the reasons she was really hopeful to get some teammates out there with her that, she wanted them to share that experience, and unfortunately that didn't work out for her or for her teammates. Uh, we will be getting on the track when we're out there. There are it's a very regimented structure out there in terms of when you can practice, when you can't practice. Virtually where can you stand and where can't you stand at what time. Check-in is very regimented. They check the size of your spikes. Uh, One of the things we do with our team throughout the year is really harp on, these are the rules, follow the rules, and there's a reason for that. A, they're the rules,
Yeah.
and B, if you go into a big meet, those rules will probably be enforced. And we always say to the athletes, you need to understand right now, get yourself in the habit of doing that. Because at nationals, if you're not there, when they tell you to be there, they don't care. It's very easy to scratch you, and they will scratch you. Kayla's always been very good at those kinds of details, but I think she uh, that's a process that can be a little bit unsettling, especially when you first go, and that's certainly an area where I think she's learned some things. For example, hustle up your warm up. Hustle from point A to point B, because if you hustle up, you're going to have a little bit more time to do what you need to do, and also kind of take that deep breath and be ready to go.
So when is she competing on Friday? We can watch online, and what are you looking for from her?
She's competing Friday afternoon. Be honest with you, I don't know the exact time. I think it's somewhere right around 1 o'clock.
Hmm.
Uh, that will be streamed live by the NCAA, and so anybody can get on the
We'll be
computers
watching.
and watching that. I don't always know how good some of the shots are, but uh, the cameras will be rolling. There'll be no doubt about that, and uh, she will advancement is primarily on time.
Hmm.
So conceivably, she could be fourth or fifth in her heat and still make the finals. Uh, and so that's one of the things we stress. Run hard, go all out. Even if you're behind, keep it going because you never know. Your heat, could be the fastest heat of all, and a whole bunch of you are in the finals and things. So like for example, indoors this year, uh, it took a pretty fast last heat of 200s, which she wasn't in, to actually bump her out of the top 8 spots.
Hmm.
So again, we preach this during the year. First step, make it in the finals. That's your first step. Don't worry about step two, and everything else. You got to achieve step one, and in this case, it's get into that final race there.
Well, Kayla Truesdale chasing All-American status one final time, the 100 meters on Friday. We'll be watching. We're rooting for Coach Dale Louie. Thank you for joining us one
Thank you very
final
much
time.
for the entire year.
Thank you.